Welcome to episode 79 of our Sperduti Fitness podcast. I'm your host, Brian. I'm here with my co-host, Beth. Before we jump into today's podcast, Coach Beth's going to take us through a few announcements.
Welcome back, everybody. You guys, we're going to talk about one of the best programs that we have going on. As fitness professionals, we have so many people ask and wondering, where do I start my journey? So this is where the Sperduti Fitness virtual training app comes in, and it is available on both the Apple and Android platforms. After you download the free app, create your account, you can browse through all that we have to offer, from our online virtual training, nutrition coaching, yoga, fitness classes, and you can even set up your free virtual consultations with one of our trainers to help you put a plan into action. This is also where you're going to find our most popular program, the 12-week Transformation Challenge. This is the first program that brings exercise and nutrition education into a 12-week program, with our winner taking home a $500 cash prize. Head on over to the App Store or to our website, www.sperdutifitness.com, to learn more. Our next challenge is going to start after we send those kids back to school, September 18th. So get those kids in school to get their education, and let's get you some education in the fitness and health world. Now let's get into today's podcast.
This is episode 79, and our guest tonight is registered dietitian Rachel Simson. She was on episode 38 of our Sperduti Fitness podcast, where she talked about credentials and background, her history, and things like that. We brought her back on episode 79 to talk about gut health and bust some fitness myths. Rachel, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
And this is a topic that's kind of widely talked about now, and I think people need a little help just navigating it, understanding it, and just what it's all about. Could you give the people out there a little explanation of like what gut health is and why it's important?
Yeah. So the definition of gut health, we really don't have an exact one, because really, what is it? I mean, how do you really define gut health? I mean, our gut is our entire, GI system, going from our mouth to our anus. I mean, I feel like when we think of our gut, we just think of our stomach, and people they think of their stomach, but then they want to take like probiotics and do all that kind of stuff. So they're not really sure what they're taking them for. And so when we talk about gut health, we're kind of talking about, like I said, the whole system, our esophagus, our stomach, our small intestines, our large intestines. So there's a lot involved in it, and no one really knows what they're talking about because they're just throwing that word around. So are we talking about like acid reflux? Are we talking about actual stomach issues, like some sort of like stomach acid issues? Not sure. Are we talking about gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea? So everyone is individualized when it comes to gut health, and what your issue is not going to be the same recommendation for everyone, okay? Because it's just going to depend. So I feel like when we talk about gut health, like I said, the first thing, and I see this a lot, and I'm going to call out some people that I see on Facebook that are social media, that are just, this is going to improve your gut. Well, what are we improving? And that's the issue, is there all these people, I'm going to say like holistic nutritionists, things like that, a lot of times are recommending supplements and like, here, this is going to improve your gut health. What are we improving? Okay. So first off, we need to find out really what is your issue personally. Now, if you have a severe issue that is like impacting your life, like constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating, that you've tried everything, you need to go see a gastroenterologist. Okay. You need to go see an actual doctor to see if there's something wrong first, than going to someone who's just going to say, hey, you need to remove gluten, or you need to remove dairy. Okay. Now those things can also be done first. And that's where I would say you need to go see a registered dietitian if you're having gut issues, if you think you're having issues. Okay. And from there, we can talk about issues. We can say, hey, maybe we need to take a look at your diet. And when I take a look at people's diets with gut health, it's really in depth. Okay. I'm going to do a total food recall of what they're eating. Okay. I'm going to take a look at, are there things like artificial sweeteners, non-nutritive sweeteners in your diet? I have no issue with those things, but my issue is some people don't tolerate them. Okay. There could be a lot of gas and bloating from those things. Okay. And they may not realize that because they think they're eating healthy, and they're thinking, I had one client that was eating one of those no cow bars. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. And they're packed with like sugar, alcohols, and then I think it had stevia in it. So a non-nutritive sweetener. So was that causing your bloating? Do you know what I mean? So we need to take a look at other things you're doing. Are they, say, whey powders or casein powders, any type of protein powder, a plant-based powder that has like botanicals in it, or it has some other sort of, additive, like say like added fiber in it, like inulin or chicory root. Are those causing bloating? Like before you remove certain like whole food groups or foods, I think we need to take a look at what else you're eating. Okay. Along with supplements you're taking. I cannot tell you, oh my gosh, I have so many people come to me and they're on 10, 15 supplements. Okay. Yes. And they're like, I'm bloated. I'm like, I'm going to tell you why you're bloated. Because you are on 10, 15 supplements that probably aren't doing anything that they're saying. So a lot of supplements, can just say, hey, this is immune boosting. This is, healthy gut promoting. This is, all these claims that are going to say it, and you're on all these supplements, not really doing anything. They're just packed with fillers and they're giving you gas and bloating. Okay. That's another thing, is that we need to take a look at what you're taking in supplement form. So when people come to me, these are all things I look at rather than, like I said, just taking out actual food groups or a specific food. Yeah, there are certain foods that can cause some GI distress when it comes to gut health. Things like, like a FODMAP diet. I might look at some of those types of foods for people. And sometimes even like healthy foods cause GI distress. But we also have to think about, like, there's some sort of normal bloating that we all have within the day as we go on, because especially if we're trying to get, and I know you guys are really big on getting your fiber content, and so am I. If you're trying to meet, your fiber grams per day with whole foods, you might have some bloating. You know what I mean? Like if you're eating an apple and berries and broccoli and things like that, yeah, there might be some. Now, cooking them a different way might also decrease some of the bloating also. So instead of having raw broccoli, maybe cooked. Same with like nuts and seeds. Instead of having almonds whole, maybe having like almond butter might be a little better tolerated. And this is what people don't think of, because we go directly to, it's gluten, it's dairy, I need a probiotic. And this is what really gets to me. Okay. And that's another thing, is about like probiotics and prebiotics. I am not 100% against them, but I am also not on board with supplements that really aren't needed if we don't know. Like we have like thousands of different strands of microorganisms in our whole entire GI tract. Okay. We don't know what's the right amount of certain bacteria in our gut. No one knows. No one knows, hey, I need this much acidophilus in my gut. I need this much, lactobacillus. No one knows, because no one knows what the true definition of a healthy gut is. And we don't know personally for us. Like yours is completely different than mine. So someone could recommend a probiotic to me, but you may not need that same probiotic because it's going to have different strands that you may or may not need. And actually I wish I would have had the study ready, but there is a study that showed that sometimes actual probiotics can be harmful and cause more gas and bloating, because you could be adding more bacteria that you don't need, and then you're having an overgrowth of a certain strand. Okay. So in my opinion, I think things like probiotics, prebiotics are not needed. I think you can get them from your diet, and your body can kind of regulate them on your own. Things like, you can do some sort of like Greek yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and then you can get some prebiotics from things like fruits and vegetables. So I don't think that's necessarily needed to have like a pre or probiotic in your diet. And I think that's the first thing we gravitate towards, is say, hey, we need this in our diet. So that's kind of like with gut health. But with gut health also, it's just general health. And I think we're kind of really turning this into a term of like we feel better digestion wise when we're doing everything that we need to be doing to feel better for general health. And that's going to be, I always recommend more plants, fruits and vegetables. There you go. Try to get at least as much color as you can throughout the week, because all of those are going to provide different types of, bacteria, fiber. Okay. So I would say trying to get as much color as you can each week is going to help with your gut health. Okay. And going to the bathroom too, and that's another thing is like, really, do you have a gut issue? Like, what are we really looking at? Like, we need to take a look at, do you really have constipation? Do you really have diarrhea? Or do you just think you do? And that's something that you can talk more about with your GI doctor or your dietitian, because we as dietitians always like to talk about bowel movements, but there's a certain amount of times you should be going. If you're not going long, if you're not going for 3 days, yes, it's constipation. If you're going more than 3 times a day, I would say, hey, maybe there is an issue with certain foods you're eating, and it may be a small intolerance to some foods, and that's where that food recall is going to come in as a dietitian. Whereas I think a lot of times when people go to, like I said, holistic nutritionists and things like that, because I see a lot of people coming to me after the fact of going to a holistic nutritionist, they come to me and they are on this list of supplements that they put them on, they put them in their cart and they have to buy them. And they're like, nothing's helping. They've tested all these things. I have these deficiencies, but they're really not sure what these deficiencies are, or they are allergic to something or intolerant to something from a stool test or a blood test that they gave them, which are not even accurate. So I'm just like very confused as to why there's so much involved in this gut health aspect when it could just be eating fruits and vegetables, movement. Okay. Movement is going to be huge with helping our gut. So walking, weightlifting, whatever you want to do, any sort of movement you can get in. Okay. Getting enough fluids. Okay. Specifically water, because obviously things like carbonation can also affect our gut, how we feel, our gut can feel. Carbonation can make us feel bloated, gassy. Caffeine can also make us feel, cause some increased movement in our gut. So it can cause some diarrhea at times for certain people. Any hot beverage actually can make us increase our GI tract movement. So it could be hot water, hot lemon juice, hot tea, coffee. So sometimes if people are having a slow digestion, sometimes I'm just like, hey, let's do some hot water if you don't like coffee, whatever that is. Alcohol can slow it down. So then we look at that, like, I have poor gut health, but I'm doing great Monday through Friday. All of a sudden Saturday, I mean, this is like typical of the majority of people I talk to. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm drinking all this alcohol and they're like, hey, my gut health isn't great. I don't feel great. I wonder why. Okay. So some other things to take a look at is going to be sleep and stress management, which
rinse and repeat. Like we've
yeah.
Again,
deja vu.
Again, kind of like going back to the basics of general health is going to help our gut health. Okay. So like I said, I think fruits and vegetables are really important. I mean, only about 10% of the population actually eat enough fruits and vegetables. So that is going to be huge to get that in. I think that'd be the first place to start to help with your gut. Also just knowing your symptoms. Like if you have tried everything and you think you've tried everything, then maybe you do need to go see a professional about it and not, like someone online or something like that. Like, obviously, yes, I think a registered dietitian fits perfectly into some sort of gut health treatment, along with a gastroenterologist. And that's for any disease, whether it be diabetes, cardiovascular disease, anything like that. I think a dietitian is a great part of the team in addition to your practitioner. And then, like I said, sleep management or sleep, stress management, exercise, and fluid. I mean, again, and that goes back to basic nutrition, or I should say basic health and how you feel. So that's really for gut health. I mean, it's really hard to define. It's really hard to give a definition of what works because everyone is individualized with gut health. And I think that's the issue right now is that we try to sell one thing for everyone. And that one size doesn't fit all. And I think that's in general for all health issues. And that's the issue too, is, you see people selling nutrition plans and meal plans. It does not fit for everyone. And that's the same thing for gut health. It doesn't fit for everyone.
It's basically, it depends and show me the data.
Yeah.
It depends and show me the data and let's make a plan.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And people want to overcomplicate it and just buy something because it's so easy. No, it's as easy as knowing what you're consuming, using your journal, using your tracking. That's what those tools are for.
Yeah.
They're not something to be thought of as restriction, and it's a tool. Let's use it as a tool, and let's use it to help make a plan. Let's see what the data is showing us. That's one of the first things. I have a client that I'm working with right now who is having issues with bowel movements, and we just started really focusing in on her fiber. Where are your fiber sources coming from? Let's really take a look at where they're coming from, and let's see where we can make some swaps. Maybe you're putting too much in right now, and you're feeling, and she has been so under control and so much more consistent. And it's like, all we needed to do was take a look at your fiber sources and see where they were coming from. And like you said, it's not one size fits all. It's so individualized. And I think that's what's so great about flexible nutrition is that you're customizing it for each person.
Right. And that's the same thing you said with the food diary. Like the second I say food diary, people back off. They're like, nope, don't have time, don't have patience. And I'm like, and this is the same thing when I talk about weight loss to people, because I'm like, sometimes you need to track how many calories you're eating because you think you're eating less than you are. And then we realize once we start tracking, and this is the same thing when we're tracking to test for any GI issues, like maybe you are eating something that's not working, and you're not realizing it. And sometimes like I said, the no cow bar, like she didn't even think, oh my gosh, what is in that? That could be causing some of my issues. I mean, there's just so many things now that could, and there's nothing against those products. I have nothing against anything like any of those. But again, everyone is so different, and they don't realize that a lot of products, if it is packaged, you could not be tolerating it. You never know. You just need to take a look at it. But no one wants to wait 3 days to see, hey, I'm going to eat this food. And then if it don't feel great after it, okay, let me try it again. Still don't feel great. I'm going to remove it now for a few days and then maybe add it back in to see if, hey, do I have the symptoms back again? No one wants to take the time to do that, because typically with GI issues, you have to do one food at a time. I am not an elimination diet person. I am not saying, hey, let's take all foods out and add one back in at a time, because again, there could be some nutritional deficiencies if we're taking everything out at once. So I like to do let's take a look at one thing at a time. This might take a little while, but it's very individualized for gut health. And again, it's people do not, the time it takes to lose weight or to improve your gut health is like the same thing. We are so impatient. We are so impatient in this world. And if you want results, whether it be to heal whatever is going on that is bothering you in your gut or to lose weight, you have to have the patience.
And the amount of time that it takes your body to work through a food and reintroduce, and it takes time. And
it does.
You hit that right on the button. Like, we're not Amazon Prime. I say that all the time. It cannot happen instantly. You need to put the time in to learn about your body.
Right. Exactly.
But you have to think about it too. Like, the tough part about it is like, what's sexy and what sells. Hey, you know what? We're just going to take our time here, eliminate a food, see how it works, give it a couple of weeks, or want to drop 74 pounds in 2 weeks with my hula hoop diet. It's like, I'm buying hula hoops right now.
Right.
It's so tough. It is very tough to fight against that. It's very tough. So with gut health, then what you're saying is basically it's general health. Like, to look at someone, if they said, I have bad gut health, it's like, well, okay, what's your overall health look like? And how are your fruits and veggies?
Yeah.
Before you start buying. And can you just explain for people what pre and probiotics are? Yeah.
So probiotics are, they feed the live bacteria in your gut. Okay. Well, they are and they are live bacteria. So basically you have live bacteria in your gut, throughout your gut, all different strands. Okay. And the probiotics are that live bacteria. The prebiotics feed that live bacteria. So basically we need them to grow. So to have that live bacteria keep growing and kind of killing off and producing, that helps your immune system. So we need to feed that live bacteria prebiotics to continue to survive and grow and help your immune system. And obviously have a healthy gut, if you want to call it that. So like I said, most of the probiotics are the fermented foods like yogurt. So through your diet, you can get it through like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kombucha. You can get it through. It's not the best source, but that's where you can get it through food sources. Again, you can get it through probiotic supplement sources too. Again, I'm not completely against it. Some people really do need it. And some people actually, like if they're on an antibiotic for say like a month, sometimes they will go on, 1 month of a probiotic just to kind of rebuild their live bacteria in their gut, which is completely fine. But your body can also do that naturally on its own and bring it back to its regulation. And then the prebiotics are really mostly from foods, okay? Like fruits and vegetables. So like asparagus, bananas, really any vegetable, but those are probably the two main ones. And then they feed that live bacteria. The thing too is like sometimes you have to pay attention to, like I said, if you're on any antibiotics or like chemotherapy or anything that could kill any of the live bacteria or villi in the intestines, then you might want to think about a probiotic. But again, you could get it through diet. So yeah, so that's what those are.
What's wild is you went through a ton of the questions we had just with the explanation of everything. So because a lot of it comes together. Like we were going to ask, like, can you does mental health affect gut health? But if gut health is general health, you're going to run into some issues if you don't have good quality general health, eating enough fruits and vegetables, not moving around a lot, drinking too much caffeine, not getting enough sleep. I'm guessing that all that will interrupt your gut if all of that isn't on point.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we just debunked gut health. Okay, all right.
Well, and you did, and you hit a lot on those specific foods that promote that healthy gut. Your fruits and vegetables, because that's where our fiber sources are coming from. And that's what's going to help our bowels be regular. And that's what's going to help us feel good. And you even touched on this topic too, how movement can really be important for manipulating your bowels. So if there are people out there that are struggling with, if you're not having bowel movements every day, you may be feeling a little bit uncomfortable in the gut. And especially if you are trying to improve your gut health, it's really important to know that you have to find out how much fiber you're bringing in before you start trying to force yourself to eat tons of fruits and vegetables, because you're going to feel awful. It could definitely impact your gut in a negative way if you are really trying to hit that, I'm going to eat so much fiber to improve my gut health. You could definitely, like you even said before, the extra gases that are going to get kicked up, getting a little bit constipated, maybe even having some diarrhea or some reflux, because your body needs to adjust to this amount of fiber that's going to be coming in. I don't think people realize how important walking and resistance training is to gut health. Once I started, really increasing my steps, I noticed, thank God sometimes I was at home walking on my treadmill because I had that walk going and I was like, oh, hello, it is time right now. And just increasing that daily movement can really help people to regulate their bowels.
Right. And I think too, like you said, the slowly increasing the fiber, but then along with increasing fiber, you need to slowly increase water too, which is another thing that, we do not, the majority of us don't drink enough fluid, specifically in the form of water. Okay. So that's another thing. If you're slowly increasing fiber, maybe it is, 1 or 2 grams a day, and then you slowly work up to your goal, but you also increase some water. Another thing with bowel movements is like, and we'll talk about like, hey, do you have a squatty potty? How long are you sitting on the toilet for? Are you straining? Like, is there something else you do need? Again, there's some people that really do have like IBS-C or IBS-D, and then that's maybe more of, and it's kind of a generic term sometimes when, gastroenterologists throw out that term, but maybe it is that you need to really work on your mental health to relax. We don't sit down and relax. And that's another thing kind of to talk about gut health is so much mindless eating. We stand when we eat, we watch TV when we eat, we do not chew our food. And that is a huge part of really our, how we feel gas bloating wise. Like, our food we should chew our food to like a consistency of mashed potatoes. Who does that? Okay. But really, we are on the go all the time and it's just getting worse. And so sit down at the table, sit down, take a bite of food, put your fork down. And that's another thing is that, how fast are you eating? I have a lot of people that, don't get a lunch. Like, no, if you're working, you get a lunch. Okay. You get a lunch. Stop telling me you don't.
Yes. You block your meeting time in,
right.
Block your lunch time in. You have all your meetings logged in for the day, log your food time.
Right. And I also encourage walking after meals. That is one big thing I do encourage is, every meal, is if you can do 5-10 minutes after every meal, just get a little walk in. Doesn't have to be fast paced, but just some kind of movement. But chewing your food is huge. Knowing too, like I said, do you need a squatty potty? Do you need to relax a little more? Do you need to, sit down, have that cup of coffee to relax, to have that bowel movement? Maybe you need some sort of like abdominal massage. Some people need that.
Let's talk about those.
Yeah. All these little things that, people don't realize that could help them have bowel movements, which is all part of gut health. Okay. Because you're eliminating all of that. And that's what needs to happen. So it all depends with everyone. And sometimes there is the need for things like I'm not a fan of like over the counter, like Colace and Senna and Miralax and things like that, unless they're really needed. But maybe like a magnesium, maybe that's needed to help you have a bowel movement, more of a natural supplement. You know what I mean? Something like that sometimes I talk to a lot about my clients. But again, I think it comes down to, you're not getting enough fiber. You're not drinking enough water. You're not moving enough. You're not chewing your food, bottom line. So
I think too many people jump to like level 10 when they need to just go to level 1 first.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's because again, though, we want everything instantly. So it's like, instead of putting your lifestyle in check, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Like you got to get your lifestyle in check. You got to get your eating in check. What are you eating? Things like that before it's like, oh, I'm just going to jump on this. And it's like, yeah, well, okay, but
right. Well, and the same thing with like a gluten. Like a lot of people are like, it's the gluten that's causing it. Well, my feeling on a lot of times when we say that kind of stuff is, I think you overeat certain foods that you're demonizing, and so it's probably not that actual food. It's probably the dose of that food. That's, you know what I mean? And that's for everything, because we demonize all these foods, but because you're demonizing them, you probably binge on them, and then you're getting GI upset after.
And that's the name of the episode today, people. It's probably not the food, it's your overeating of the food that's causing the issue.
I mean,
that goes across the board.
Across the board. I mean, think about it. Really.
I don't eat pretzels because they make me gain weight. I'm guessing it's not the pretzels. How many are you eating?
Right. So, and same thing with like, the drinking on the weekends. You're drinking and then you're probably eating food with it that you probably wouldn't. Not that you shouldn't, but probably wouldn't in larger amounts. And then the next day you're like, oh, there was a gluten in that pizza that got me.
Yeah. The gym steakout at 3:30 in the morning. I think it was the gluten in the bread. No, you ate a whole sub and fries. That's probably what got you.
Right. So, so gut health is not, I mean, we need to stop overcomplicating it and taking 17 supplements thinking that they're all helping, and they're probably just making it worse. Take a real good look at your diet. Like I said, if you need to see a dietitian, I think it's really good, because I think an outside look at your day, we point out things that you wouldn't even think of. Yeah. And sometimes you're not going to like to hear what I have to say, but if you really want to feel better, these are things you need to do.
Right.
Bottom line.
Rachel, would you give the viewers maybe your top 3 or top 5 things that they could do to improve their gut health? You were going to give them a little list of the things to do.
So I would say increase fruits and vegetables. Okay. I would probably say, if I had to give you a water amount, I mean, it's hard because everyone's different, but at least 70 ounces. I'm going to say at least. Okay. And then I would say walk at least 8 to 10,000 steps a day. Now, this is where a lot of clients come to me and they might not be even close to that. This is where you need to slowly work up to that, because I can't tell you how many clients come to me and they are only at about 2,000 steps a day, because we are so sedentary in life. I mean, it is really, it's so hard for people. Like, you have to consciously get up and walk. Like, I get it, it's hard, but you have to get up. And this is part of why you're probably, most of the people who do come to me that have gut issues, I should say, are overweight. Okay. So if there is any way for you to lose some weight to feel better, it would definitely help. And that's where those steps are going to come in. Increase fruits and vegetables. I would then say get the fluid, and then 2 more. Let's see if I had 2 more. I mean, obviously sleep and stress management, but I would say really take a look at your day of what foods you're like eating. So any packaged foods, I need you to take a look to see if there's any added fibers, inulin, chicory root, things like that. Non-nutritive sweeteners or artificial sweeteners in them. You know, is there I mean, I'm going to put lactose in there because some people have a mild lactose intolerance, and maybe it is just, you know, having some foods that are lower in lactose. And again, that dietitian could talk to you about that. And then I would definitely say, we'll add sleep and stress management in there together. Those are, I mean,
Everything.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what would you say some common symptoms of an unhealthy gut are?
So you could have acid reflux. Okay. You could have diarrhea, constipation, gas, bloating, burping. Sometimes people have like loose stools we call it like sperduti, which is like a almost like an oily type film in the water after you have a bowel movement. Now, sometimes that is actually more of like an actual issue than just you know, a gut symptom that you're thinking can be cleared up with like, you know, your diet. That might even be like you need some digestive enzymes type thing. You know, I've had clients come to me just randomly put on digestive enzymes, and I'm like, why? And they're like, I'm not sure why. And I'm like, again, this is where sometimes you're put on things, you know, you don't know why. Like, ask questions. If you go to someone like a holistic nutritionist and they put you on a medication and you don't know why, you need to ask why. Okay. I can't tell you how many people come to me and they're like, I don't know why I'm on this one. I'm just taking it. I'm paying $60 a month for it just to take it, you know, like, so those would probably be the common ones. You know, abdominal pain would probably be another one that I would probably say is a more serious end of going to the doctor right away. You know, a doctor is going to have better testing available too. Some of these, you know, little, you know, holistic nutritionists, again, I keep saying that, but I always get clients from them. But they have these tests that are just mail-in tests. Hey, you have, from a stool sample, you're intolerant or allergic to this food. They don't do anything. Those tests mean nothing. Don't go off what that test says. Okay. Go to the doctor if you think you have something wrong with you, and they can do a better test for you to actually tell you what is actually wrong with you. Okay. And that's the same thing with like blood tests, that some people go to just a, you know, holistic nutritionist and they're just doing a blood test, and like all of a sudden you're like, you're allergic to oatmeal, eggs, and almonds. And you're like, I eat that every day. That's why it's showing up as you're allergic to it. Like, you know, so, but those are the common ones. So burping, acid reflux, diarrhea, constipation, gas, bloating. Again, some of these things could just be one thing you ate the night before, but if it's ongoing, then go get some help for it.
Yeah, that's
I love those. I love
such
those
good
tips for people
information.
to look at. Seriously. And I think, Rachel, you're going to really love this question. We were wondering what your thoughts were on juice cleanses, detoxes. Are those great for gut health?
They're not needed. They're not needed. We have 2 kidneys and a liver, and then we have our skin for sweating. We sweat, we urinate every day. We get rid of all the toxins we need to get rid of. Okay. The majority of these juice cleanses, things like that, they're like what? Maybe you're consuming 300-400 calories for 3 days. This is kind of what they make you do. they're like, yeah, I'm cleansing, I'm detoxing everything. This is why I'm losing all the weight. I've lost 4 pounds of toxins over the past 3 days. No, you've lost 4 pounds of water over the past 3 days because you only had 300 calories. It's a waste of money, in my opinion. And you know what? I really haven't seen too many like detoxes or cleanses recently. I think that was more like years ago. I really haven't seen too many them be too popular recently. I think more of like the greens powders or the powders greens, whatever they call them now, is more popular these days. But no, I haven't really seen too many recently, but they're not needed. They're just a waste of your money. There's no need to have anything. Actually, some of them can actually wipe out some of your good bacteria because they're so harsh on you. It depends on which one you have. Like if it's just a juice cleanse and it's just you're juicing for 3 days, that's just a real, I mean, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think some of the pressed juices, I've seen someone like pay like a lot of money to get all these juices mailed to them. Some of them are super high in sugar just because it is just juices, which some natural sugars, but then they actually have added sugars in there. But then you're getting no protein for 3 days, which is a concern. We know that.
Breaker.
They're like, I'm super weak and tired for 3 days. So then you're regrouping from that. You're recovering from that. I don't think they're needed at all. They're just a waste of money.
Some added stress on the body.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, you know, kind of involves same thing as like intermittent fasting, some stress in the body because you're not getting enough calories within that window block. So yeah, which is a different story.
Listen, let's go. So you know what it is? It's just it's good to have someone on like you who can just go ahead and just debunk them one by one and then let people realize, listen, a lot of this comes down to the individual. I can't give you a yes or no answer. And it's funny because when Beth and I talk to people a lot of what we say is it depends.
I say that a lot too. Yeah, it really does.
Because like I don't, like you were saying with the steps. Oh, you know, probably get like 8 to 10,000. Well, what if I'm only getting 2? Well, it depends then. You might want to just start off with maybe 2,000, 2,500, 3 and work your way up. Or water. It's like, you know, I don't drink water. Well, you need to drink 70 ounces tomorrow. It's like, oh, well, maybe we just pull back to 20. Like, but again, though, that's where it comes down to. I always say, like, people are like snowflakes. We're all individuals. Like, we're all different. We all have different stresses. We all have different eating patterns. We all have different this and that. And unless you're willing to sit down and go, hey, I logged down a little bit what I've been doing, this and that, this is what I've been eating. Can you take a look and let me and you know, let me know what you're seeing and take the time to figure things out? It's too hard just to jump on a general supplement and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to fix all my issues because social media said to do that. And it's like,
well, social media has become a horrible world for the nutrition industry because people are now getting to the point where they're just afraid to eat. They're afraid that everything they consume is going to make them fat. If I eat this, it's going to make me fat. I need to eat this only. I have to remove this food group. And social media has been a help for some of us, but the amount of influencers that are out there telling people what they should be eating and what you should be avoiding, and don't eat this if you want to lose weight, and don't eat this, and you should be eating this, and try this supplement, and have my product. It's getting to the point now where I'm sure you're seeing it, Rachel, but Brian and I are seeing it with our clients too, to the point where people are now afraid to eat. They're afraid of calories. They are not understanding what is happening in their body, and us as professionals are trying to repair some of this damage that is being put out there on social media.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have people come to me all the time and it's like, especially carbs. Carbs are still a big issue. And I'm not sure why this is lasting so long, but like carbs are still the devil. And it's like, no, you can't have white pasta. No, you can't have white rice. No, you can't have pasta in general. You can't have bread. And then I had someone the other day comment on one of my posts, like, pork is bad for you. You shouldn't be eating it. Macaroni and cheese is bad for you. Like, and I'm just like, this is why, like, for the majority of my clients, and I get it. And because for some of them, I really do feel bad, like, because they just don't know what to do. And I'm like, listen, you need to eat the foods you like. Okay. Because if you don't, you're then going to binge on them. And this is what is happening. This is exactly what's happening. My main goal is to get you to have the majority of your food whole and processed foods. fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean meats, things like that. Obviously, that's my first goal. Okay. But I still need you to incorporate foods that you at one point, and I hate even to say this, thought were bad, because you need to incorporate them. If you like chocolate and you want to have a piece of chocolate every day after dinner, have a piece of chocolate, but don't have the whole chocolate bar. And that's the thing. If you have that piece of chocolate every day after dinner, you're more likely not to then binge on that food because you're still incorporating into your diet. And
It's
this
not
is the
reward
part,
based.
right?
It's not reward
They
based.
don't, or it is, they struggle with, I'm trying to save calories in the beginning part of the day. So I eat 200 calories for breakfast, and then I have, 200 calories for lunch. And then 4 o'clock comes, 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock, they consume 1,800 calories. And I'm like, this is why you're consuming 1,800 calories. You're not eating enough in the beginning part of the day. And then I try to say, we need to add more calories in the beginning part of the day. And they're like, oh no, then I'm going to gain weight. I'm like, no, you're not listening. This is going to be, we're going to work it around to get calories in the beginning part of the day. And then you're going to eat less in the after part of the day. Okay. It is very, very hard to teach it, because then they do that for 2 days and they don't see 10-pound weight loss and they're done.
Yeah. And it's more about that habit. It's about changing that habit.
Right. And another part is no one is meeting their protein needs. And it is extremely difficult to explain to them that 2 eggs in the morning is not enough protein. And because they get overwhelmed when I'm like, okay, because they're like, example, the majority of my female clients, I have 2 eggs in the morning. That's it. I said, okay, we need to have 2 eggs, yogurt, toast, peanut butter. And they're like, oh, whoa, that's a lot of food. And I'm like, no, it's not a lot of food. You need that. And they just don't get it. And sometimes when people look at my posts, they're like, you eat a lot of food. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's real great. You know what? I love it, and, but, it also took me a while to, from having an eating disorder, that I talked about in the last podcast we had, to learn that you can eat a lot of food and still be healthy and lose weight and look the way you want to look. Actually, you're probably going to look better. I'm not going to lie. Because then you can lift more. And that's another thing, is the majority of my clients. So I would say the 3 things they don't get enough of: protein, fiber, and they're not weightlifting. And I cannot tell you, and when I have premenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal women come to me and they're like, it's because I'm in menopause. I know it's my hormones. And I said, no, you're not, you don't have enough muscle mass. You're not lifting. And they do not want to believe me. And then they're so afraid to lift because I don't want to get bulky. You're not going to get bulky. Pick up the weight, and please not make it be more than 5 pounds. We can start with 5 pounds if you haven't weightlifted before, but we're going to increase it. And I am not a personal trainer. So I've actually referred people to, I'm not sure if they came to you, but this is like the whole thing of like, you need to weightlift. You need to get enough protein. You need to weightlift. You need to eat. You need to sleep. You need to manage your stress. You need to drink enough water. That's it. And I get to, some people are coming from where we have to change a lot of things. And I say to a lot of my clients, change one thing at a time. Do one thing at a time. Maybe it's you're working on breakfast for a week, working on getting enough protein at breakfast. That's great. Okay. You work on breakfast, have breakfast down. Then we get that snack in. Then we get that lunch in. And then we work on not snacking while we're eating, or raiding the pantry when you get home because you had an appropriate snack on your way home or something. And it's really hard. Again, everyone is individualized because it's going to depend on their day. So when people come to me, I'm like, all right, tell me what times of day you eat. And I'm like, okay, that's too long. You're going too long without eating. Like, this is how I set up people's, again, I can't give a meal plan out to someone because I don't know your schedule. We're creatures of habit. So we need to kind of make a plan together about foods you like, about times of eating, and making sure what 30, 40 grams of protein looks like, whether be in the form of a protein powder or a meat or a dairy product, whatever it is, and I think that's another thing, is like, people don't realize how much protein is in things. They don't read labels too. That's another thing. And I always tell people, you might have to use some sort of like protein powder to meet your protein needs each day. And I always bring it back to me. And sometimes I hate using myself as an example in some of my client sessions, but I have to sometimes, because I have to relate to them. I have to say, hey, I try to hit about 135 grams of protein a day. At least I have to at least use 1 to 2 grams or 1 to 2 scoops of protein powder a day, because there's no way I'm eating that much meat. I don't like it. You could eat that much meat, protein with meat and dairy and things like that, but that's just not me. So you may need to look into something like a whey protein powder or a plant-based protein powder, or even a collagen. You know what I mean? As long as you're getting, and we talk about collagen, how it's not a complete protein, but if you're eating other sources of complete proteins throughout the day, great. Okay, it still counts as a protein source. So yeah, the protein issue is really a huge issue with a lot of my female clients. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And I think, what it is too, is I think one thing we don't do a great job of, I think, just in society, is and a lot of people don't accept it well either. It's just basic nutrition education, just very basic. Like Beth and I, like, let's just show you how to read a food label.
Yeah.
Just very basic serving size. And this is what we tell people too, when they weigh things out. We're like, we don't expect you to weigh your food out forever. I just want to create some type of visualization so you understand what a portion size looks like. Then we back off. But you have to have the skill to be able to do those things before you can just go. Like I always tell people, I like to weigh stuff in grams. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I've seen your tablespoon of peanut butter and it's 3. 28's 28 on the scale. Like, it is what it is.
Right. Well, and I say the same thing. It's because, I say, if you're not losing weight, because they'll come to me and they'll tell me everything they're eating in a day. And I'm like, no, you're getting calories from someplace else.
Yeah.
You have to tell me where else you're getting calories from. Is it on the weekend? Is it, and then I'm like, okay, what I need you to do is for 2 weeks, I need you to write down everything, put it in some sort of system if you can, measure if you can, because I need to know how many calories you're taking in. And from there, we need to drop those calories. And I always say, because I'm not a fan of, because working with, patients who have eating disorders, disordered eating, things like that. But if you can get a scale out and measuring cups and measuring spoons out for a week to readjust your eyes, it's needed, because your eyes right now are on Olive Garden pasta dishes. Okay. That is not a portion size of pasta. So that is, and again, you don't have to do it for the rest of your life, measuring and weighing. But maybe it is every 3 months you whip them all back out to readjust your eyes. Because like you said, that tablespoon of peanut butter turns into a heaping tablespoon of peanut butter. And we all know, and when I tell clients that, nutrition fact labels could be off by, 20, 40 calories, that's huge. Like and I'll show them, add it up. I'm like, these calories don't match these macros. And they're like, oh, I don't get it. And because, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, I've said that before.
And again, that takes time and no one wants to do that. But if you truly want to lose weight, that's what you have to do. And sometimes, then you have the intuitive eating aspect of it all of, hey, I want to eat intuitively, but I want to lose weight. Well, that's kind of, sorry about the dogs, if you can hear them in the background. But that's kind of what you really you might have to pull away from that intuitive eating for a week or two if you really want to lose weight, to then measure and count things to see where you stand. And I think some people, they come to me and they're like, I want to eat intuitively. And I'm like, great, that's great. I think we can eventually get to there. But right now we need to figure out where these extra calories are coming from. And that's another part of, the alcohol calories in the weekend, the eating out. We live in Buffalo, food is social. I mean, you're looking at, I'm doing 1,600 calories Monday through Friday, and then 3,500 on, Saturday and Sunday. And then, so you're averaging, 22 throughout the entire week. Well, that's why you're not losing weight.
I'm in a deficit.
Right.
You're not in a deficit anymore.
Well, and I think that's one of the, go ahead, Rachel.
No, you go ahead.
No, and I think that's one of the benefits of that people are misled by with tracking, is I think it's a way to only restrict. Where I'm a little bit of the opposite. I have to make sure that I weigh my food to make sure that I am eating enough, because I want to make sure that I'm eating enough for my goals. So a lot of times when people see or talk about, any kind of tracking mechanism, they feel it's a way to restrict, and that's obsessive and restrictive, where it's honestly just a way to be accountable. So it kind of helps you, like Brian said too, it's giving you that visual to be able to see what are my portion sizes. So that when you are away from your scale, when you are at a restaurant, you are at a gathering, a barbecue, you can see completely, you'd be like, oh, wow, that's really a small piece of chicken. I know that's not the amount that I need. I'm going to have to order a second piece. That's typically one of the things that I do almost every single time I go out to eat, is because I know my portion size. So I typically will get a double piece of protein and I get a double veg because I know that that's just what I need. And the people, when I ask too, and I have no problem asking my servers, I need 2 pieces of grilled chicken and I want a double of your seasonal veg, steamed if possible. Because when you're out at a restaurant too, you have less control. So like for me, I know that's a great strategy while I go out to eat. So I don't feel like I'm throwing myself off the rails or feeling like I'm going to fall off because I've gone to a restaurant. Because let's face it, when you're at a restaurant, you're not in control of the oils, butters, sauces, salt that they're using in your cooking. So it's just a way to be accountable, learning those portion sizes by seeing what the caloric value is to its weight.
Right.
Yeah. It's another thing I always say, like, you're going to have some type of caloric accountability in effect the rest of your life if you want to manage your weight. It could be intuitive eating and going, yeah, I weigh myself, a couple times just to see where I am, where I'm averaging about. And then if I see if I see something off, I can go back and log my food for 1 or 2 or 3 days and go, oh, that's what I've been doing.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's more of just keeping yourself accountable.
And that's where too, like, a dietitian or a personal trainer comes into play. Say, what are your goals? If your goal is to do a show or to, to lose fat, there might be some more counting in there. If your goal is to, just stay healthy, maintain your weight, maybe that intuitive eating aspect comes to play even more and there's no counting. And so it's just, that's another thing. It's personal. It needs to be personalized, not one size fits all, because it depends on your goals.
Depends. We need shirts made. It depends. It's the same thing with training. When people come in and they're like, I want to compete for this specific sport. Well, that's a little bit more structured. It's a little bit more sport specific. When you have someone come in that goes, I want to lose a little weight, it's like, oh, let's do some plyos, let's box, let's run a little bit, let's do some weightlifting, let's do that. It opens more up. It's more, you can add more in. It depends on the individual. It really does.
Right.
And we've talked about cleanses for weight loss that don't work. So I don't want somebody to try to cut that and be like, we talked about cleanses that work for weight loss. Are you seeing any other supplements or any other methods that are becoming popular that are pushed on the public right now that are kind of annoying?
Like the weight loss drugs? Like the medication?
I didn't want to say it, but
whole other podcast in itself. I feel like we need to talk about that in a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's a long one.
Because that one we're going to deep dive tremendously in.
Well, I've seen a bunch of those too, and I've read up on them a little bit. And I just a very short summary on that. But what's funny is, when you read a lot of these, they say when coupled with a proper eating plan and training, like diet and exercise, and it's like some of the side effects you read of these, you're like, why don't we just do diet and exercise?
Right. And there's no long-term studies. I mean, right now, everyone on one of these injectables, you're a guinea pig.
Yes.
You are. There's no long-term studies. And some of the things that they have come out with, pancreatitis, thyroid masses, those are more of the, intense side effects that could happen potentially. And then you have some of the ones that you have to live with day to day, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. I know a lot of people on them that have had all those side effects, and they're not nice. You're seeing weight loss, but is it fat loss? Is it muscle loss?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, and like you said, no long-term studies, in the sense that we don't even know the long-term weight loss sustainability of these drugs. Do you have to be on the rest of your life? Do you have to do all these? Right. What are you losing? Yeah, exactly. Are you just stepping on a scale and seeing weight loss and being happy with that, but in turn it's muscle loss, which can run into a whole bunch of other issues? It's right.
And like Beth said, it probably does need to be a whole other show, because there are, there's a positive and a negative, because then you see, all right, if you are losing weight, even a 5% weight loss on people who have, comorbidities, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, there could be a benefit with even a 5% weight loss. So if you're 200 pounds and you lose 10 pounds, that could be huge to you from a health standpoint. Okay. But I think they're getting overused in different ways. And I think it's just certain doctors that are just pushing them. And actually there's shortages for some people who really do need them right now. But again, like you said, you're going to be on it for the rest of your life for right now. That's all we know, is that it is for life. And I just feel like the teaching is not there. Of you know, and that's the same thing with like any medication that a doctor is going to prescribe. And I am not dissing any doctor, but a pill should not be the first thing to recommend when it comes to diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, any type of disease that you can fix with a pill. It needs to be diet and exercise first. And we do not consult out to dietitians, to trainers, to things like that, to help with that first, to see, hey, can you make diet and lifestyle changes to bring your A1C down? Because let's catch you, when you're pre-diabetic, there's no preventative care in this world. It's always just when we have the disease. When you're pre-diabetic, why don't we send you to a dietitian and a trainer to lose some weight? Why don't we cover more of this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we send you there, see if you can get it down first, and then all of a sudden you're going to go on a metformin if you're not down. And then when you're on a metformin, you would think it would scare them enough, but it doesn't, because then all of a sudden they're on insulin. And it's very frustrating. And then, then they come to me, and the thing is like, there is no consistency and motivation because it's not happening fast enough. And then it just spirals out of control. And it's really a shame, because I think it needs to be prevention first. And, over 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. And you're going to have the people that are going to argue with you that the BMI is, I'm sorry, it's an indicator that we need to use sometimes to determine our health. And we know that with a higher BMI comes disease. It's just a fact. And we need to take it more seriously, and we're not. And we're just over here just, throwing out pills, So.
And welcome to episode 80 of the Sperduti Fitness Podcast. It's so true. And I do think, though, you made a good point there. I want to just see if we're in the same thought process here. Some of these drugs that are coming out that are weight loss drugs are really beneficial in extreme situations.
Yeah.
But I think we're seeing, though, general public who are not in those extreme situations using these drugs, and it can actually be more harmful than good, because again, general health, diet, exercise could probably take care of the issues that you're going through.
Yeah. I mean, there's criteria. There should be criteria. There is criteria, and it should be used for prescribing this to patients, which some doctors are not using that criteria. It's either you have a BMI, of 27 to 30 with one comorbidity, or you just have a BMI of over 30. They're just giving it to some people. Doctors are just giving it to anyone. But then you have the ones that, like I said, like say your BMI is 30, that's still a pretty good chance that you could change your lifestyle with some diet and exercise. Now, if your BMI is 50 plus, I would think that maybe a little help from a medication to maybe say, hey, you're going to help you lose some weight to make your knees feel better so that you can walk, maybe to lose some weight to get you going, to say, hey, then you're going to kind of incorporate some diet and exercise into that. But I feel like there needs to be some mandatory classes to learn nutrition and diet. And this actually with bariatric surgery, this could go into a whole nother episode.
Welcome to episode 81 of the Sperduti Fitness Podcast.
But really, this is the closest, these drugs are pretty close to the weight loss percentages that they're seeing with bariatric surgery. Very close. We're seeing like 15-20% weight loss with some of these drugs, and bariatric surgery is like more like 20-25% weight loss. But with most bariatric surgeries, you have to lose a certain amount of weight before you go into surgery. You have to meet with a dietitian. You have to do these steps to learn lifestyle changes, because your life is never going to be the same. And a lot of these people are actually going into this realizing, I can't eat as much. And so they really have to change, but they're not learning what to eat. They're not learning, again, that I need to also weight lift to keep my muscle mass on me. I need, things like that. So there's a lot more involved in it. But again, they're also not caring because the drug is just dropping the weight for them. They don't need to. Why would you care?
Right.
With things like bariatric surgery and other methods of weight loss, you said about 15 to 20% weight loss. Are you seeing that long term?
No. And I don't know the study. I don't know like the timing and the percentage, but the maintenance of that weight loss is very low. And actually I should pull up the studies. This is going to be for the we do a whole episode, because there is a study that like they did, on a bunch of people, they did, in I think it was Ozempic or Wegovy, one of the semaglutides, and they did it for like 12 weeks long. And then they did a placebo they still got the semaglutide. And then the other one just got the placebo of, and so the placebo gained back like 6%, where, so it's very, the maintenance is not there. And that's where we're coming to the terms of this is going to be a lifestyle or a lifelong, injectable that we have to use for the rest of our life. Whereas like the bariatric surgery, you also see people not maintaining because they're going back to the lifestyles they were before. They may not be feeling great after they have it, but they're still eating what they want to. So, and I don't know the stats on that. We could look that up, but, and that's with really anyone too. The maintenance of weight loss is harder than losing it.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And that's why you see all these challenges. I mean, no one keeps them off.
Mm-hmm.
You get a 6-week challenge. I lost 20 pounds. All of a sudden, 2 months later, you're up 30.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's what really sparked this 12-week transformation challenge that Brian and I put together, is because we didn't want people having these challenges that are out there that are just Biggest Loser style. We're restricting everything for the next 6 weeks and you're going to drop 30 pounds, but you're not going to know what to do afterwards. Where our challenge is we want to transform the way you view your food, transform the way you use your tools for weight loss, transform the way you strengthen your body, because that's where your changes are going to happen for long-term results.
Right.
Yeah, we give out homework.
I do. Everybody's going to get homework.
Everybody gets homework. Yeah. What's your non-food related distressors this week? Come on, give them to us. Let us know.
You got to work on them. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's tough because it's like I always say, where's your after picture? Like it's so easy to bring people in, get that after picture, but let's see what you look like 6-7 months down the road. Let's see if you're able to maintain that, which is hard. We all know that weight loss maintenance is tough, but at least if you have the tools to go, all right, let me track my food for a couple of days, see where I am, or let me do this, or instead of just going, all right, back to cutting everything out, super restriction, 700 calories, 600 calories, 7 days a week, 60 minutes of cardio. It's like you're just going in that same cycle again and again and again, which is very
because didn't they just come out with like the results of like the Biggest Loser of like they had one contestant out of like all of the episodes, there was only one that like maintained the weight loss or something.
90% gained their weight back. It was over 90% or something ridiculous.
Crazy. Yeah. But but that's what they want. That's all they want is that instant gratification.
Yeah.
We're going to definitely have to do another podcast on, we touched on so much stuff. It's so awesome. But it is though. It's like, 'cause you know what it is like, Beth and I preach a bunch of this stuff, but you can go so much more in depth. I mean, you're a registered dietitian. I mean, you see this every day. You deal with a lot more people than we do, and you have the education to back everything up. Where, we say something to somebody and they're like, but I have a friend who lost 30 pounds and they just drank lemon juice. And we're like, go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
Have lemon juice. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like,
Sure.
Go ahead. That's fine. That's but it's and they look at us like we're crazy, and it's like coming from you, it's like this is a registered dietitian going, hey, gut health. Yeah, kind of very general.
Right.
It's a deja vu. I feel like maybe we've said this before.
Right.
But it's true though. But if you think about it, that's a tough thing. This is a whole nother. Welcome to episode 83 of the Sperduti Fitness podcast.
Right.
Social media in promotion. And if you make something look good and send a message with it, they're going to pick it up. And it's like, if you're telling somebody, if you're a super ripped person with a great Canva background, and and some video sparks, and you're telling people that they need to, never eat this food again, and people are like, I'm never touching that again. And it's like,
Right.
Yeah, and it happens.
And that's the same thing with like people selling stuff, because you can be an affiliate for someone, and I sell, and I said this on another podcast I did. I sell liquid IV, and I tell everyone, you don't need it, but you can use it. If you want to use my code and buy it, it might help you drink more water though. And that's why I like it for some of my clients. And actually a lot of them are like, it has 11 grams of sugar. There's no way I'm drinking that. I'm like, I did an actual post on the 11 grams of sugar in a liquid IV. And I was like, because so many people were like, oh my gosh, that's too much sugar. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Wow. We really have some disordered eating in this world. Really bad. It's really bad. And I feel really bad for people for them to think that 11 grams, you need to talk to a dietitian, because whoever is telling you that 11 grams of added sugar a day, which you could just do half the packet a day. But if that's going to make you drink more water, okay, then maybe it's beneficial for you.
It's 11 grams of sugar.
Right.
And it depends.
Yeah. Like, I get it, but you know what I mean? It's like, but some of the stuff some people will stress over and then not stress over other things. It's like,
right.
I'm not drinking the 11 grams of sugar. Okay, where'd you go to eat last night? Olive Garden. I got the double pasta with. You're like, okay, cool, sweet, all right.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, it's something. I mean, yeah, we can go on and everything.
We will definitely do this again. But that's a lot of great info, and again, it clears a lot of questions that people have, because again, people work full-time jobs, they have kids, they're running around, they don't have time to sit and read, really, to dig in and really try to figure things out. So when you can listen to someone who's educated on it, who works with people all the time, that can come on and go, gut health, this, and this. You don't need to go crazy with it. Let's look at just lifestyle changes. Make sure you're moving. Use these tips before you start going, oh my gosh, I need to buy all these supplements to take care of it. It's probably something that you could, if you dig in and just look at, you could probably take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that's why it's so important to work with a professional, Brian, because you just brought up all of that. People have families, they have kids, they have jobs, they have lives, they have everything they're trying to manage. Work with a professional. Reach out to someone and let them help guide you, because trying to do it on your own can be extremely daunting, and you may get caught up in the world of social media mishaps with misinformation. So it's really important to reach out to someone that is using science-based what word am I looking for? Programs or evidence.
Evidence-based. Yeah. And even
because that's where it comes from. That's where you're going to have, that is so important. And I don't think people know how great your social media presence is, Rachel. So can you share your social media handles so that people can start following your awesome content?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Buffalo Dietitian. I'm on Facebook as Buffalo Dietitian. And then my website is buffalodietitian.com. And then if you ever need to contact me, there's a contact form on my website, or you can email me at rachel@buffalodietitian.com. So all those ways to contact me or look at my material.
That is awesome. I feel like we had so much information, we at least have to ask her a couple fun questions before we leave. Because I mean, the last time we asked her these questions, it was episode 38 or 39. So
yeah.
Things may have changed.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Beth. You got this, Beth.
So, some of the questions that I really like to ask, because we're going to talk a lot about food, because that's some of my favorite things to talk about are food. So let's start with your favorite restaurants in the area. Buffalo, local, cities, South towns, wherever. Your favorite restaurants.
So I think my number one has not changed yet. So number one is still Lucia's.
And what do you get? What's your go-to at Lucia's?
It depends. So when I go
there, that's a t-shirt. We need to be wearing "It Depends" t-shirts for the next podcast.
Right. I love their fish specials when I go. So like their sea bass or their halibut, just so good. And then I do like their dirty martinis too. And then how many am I naming? Three?
Three.
Yeah. JPs, we do like JPs, because it's kid friendly. We got loud kids, you know. And then, oh gosh, those are like probably the two places we really go to. Trying to think of another place we go to often.
Before you answer that one, if this
Yeah.
helps, favorite chicken wing spot.
Oh, I'm not a
cool.
chicken wing girl. I'm not a chicken wing girl.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think we went through this with Beth because what do you call them, Beth? You don't call them chicken wings. You call them.
Deep fried chicken skin is basically what it is. There's
Yeah.
barely
No
anything,
chicken.
like
I know.
Yeah.
no.
They creep me out. I'm not a big fan of.
People, sorry everybody, don't be hating on me and Rachel. Like we still
Yeah.
love Buffalo.
Rachel does not have a
Right.
chicken wing discount code she'll be giving out on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. I'll tell you, my third favorite restaurant is what's that sushi place by the McKinley Mall? Is it called Ichiban or it's something
Well,
like that? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Is it,
Yes.
by the McKinley Mall's Ichiban? What's it called? It's up the street.
Yeah, no, Ichiban is my
yeah.
that's where we like. Yeah,
Sushi's
that's
my
good.
stuff.
Sushi.
I love sushi.
That one, yeah. And I've heard some really good things about it. So I think I'm going to hit that one up.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
All right. What about that one meal that you know is going to put you over calories? You don't care. It's that dirty cheat meal that you just love to indulge in.
Well, that would be the lobster linguine at Lucia's.
All right. When it comes to your desserts, are you a sweet or salty girl? What are you going
Sweet.
for?
Sweet.
You're going for sweet. What's your dessert? What's your go-to?
Any chocolate, Reese cups. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
had
I know. I hear you on that one.
I had a run-in with snack size peppermint patties like 2 weeks ago.
Brian said you needed to unwind with a peppermint patty after your bills today.
Well, my stepdad bought, I don't know where he got them from. There were like 150 mini York peppermint patties.
BJ's or Sam's Club, I'm sure.
I ate 136.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah.
My kids were like, Dad, did you eat those? I'm like, it depends. It depends. I don't know.
Depends. I'm not really sure. All right. Our next question for you, Rachel. What are you watching right now? Are you binging any TV shows? Are you Netflix,
Oh my gosh.
Hulu? What are you watching?
Yeah, you're gonna make fun of this. Have you ever seen 90 Day Fiance and TLC?
Absolutely.
Brian?
Have I seen
Brian?
it? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not in the current seasons, but TLC is my go-to station when I'm like,
Yeah.
give me York peppermint patties and I need Octomom right now. Like I just go
Right?
like,
So 90 Day Fiance, they keep coming off with all these spin-offs, and I'm like, all right, I'm in for it. But yeah, so it's good. And I like the pillow talk of 90 Day Fiance.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
That's
good.
hilarious. TLC. Little People, Big World. I'm all about it. I am all about it.
Yeah, it's a good station.
Our last question for you, Rachel, before we let you go. What are some things that you like to do to de-stress?
Exercise. That is probably my biggest. Running, walking, lifting, whatever it is. Taking a bath, and those are probably my two big things. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good.
So she likes taking a bath while eating Lucia lobster and watching TLC. That's kind of like the whole.
Yeah, perfect night, right? Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And I'll link up all your social media to once we post this on YouTube and stuff like that, so people can get a hold of you. I'll also break down a bunch of clips as well and attach your social media as well.
Okay, awesome. Sounds great.
Well, this was so awesome, and I can't wait to do this again.
Ready.
Okay, we'll book it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rachel, again, thank you so much for joining us and clearing a bunch of fitness and nutrition myths up. And for myself and Beth, we will catch you guys next podcast.
Bye.